Okay, so we're ready to start adding some attributes to our blocks. And what an attribute is basically just data that is attached to a block. And the reason that you would attach data to a block is so that you can extract that data out to, say, a spreadsheet or a table or a legend or something of that nature. So for instance, on this toilet, somebody might want to know if we were inserting this into, say, that hospital floor plan that we've been looking at. They may want to know what type it is, what manufacturer it is, what room it's in, what the serial number is, if there's such a thing on a toilet. I don't even know, but any sort of information that could help someone facilitate and manage a property, to get counts of objects and know where certain things are. Basically, all that information can be put into a database and connected directly to AutoCAD to help manage things. So let's look and see how this is done. Basically, you start off with your block and you have your block all drawn. And then you add in attributes. And the commands all for attributes all begin with ATT. So if you notice down here, ATT, we have ATT-DEF, which stands for attribute define, attribute display, attribute extract, attribute edit, and then we have some others like attach that isn't included. I'm not even sure what some of these other ones are, but the main ones that we have up here are attribute define is the one that we want to first start with, or ATT-DEF. So we just type in ATT and up will pop our first dialog box. So attribute definition. We have first off this box right here that says mode. Okay, we can have invisible attributes, constant attributes, attributes that verify themselves. Basically, when you type in the attribute, it asks you a second time to verify it. A preset attribute, locked position attributes, and multiple lines. Okay. So what I want to do first is I want to have my attributes be invisible, because when you insert the block, you can choose whether or not you see the attributes next to it or listed on it or something like that. Or they could be invisible. They come in with the block, but you don't see them. Okay. So then next is down here is the insertion point, where you're going to insert your attributes. Over here, we'll come back to this here in a second. This is the main thing right here about how to define the attributes. And then attributes are basically just text, so they can have justification, left, center, right, middle, so on and so forth. A different text style, whether they're standard or annotative, text height and rotation, and so on. So up here, what's important though is the tag. Okay, so the tag identifies, like it says here in the tooltip, identifies each occurrence of an attribute in the drawing. An attribute tag, okay, can be any combination of characters or numbers. You can't have spaces in there. Lowercase letters are automatically changed to uppercase, so it doesn't really matter if you put them in uppercase or not. So, so for instance, on this, we're going to just put in manufacturer. Okay, and in the prompt, it's going to be what the person is actually going to see that's inserting this attribute. So I'm going to say enter the manufacturer name. Okay, and then under default, okay, can be, you know, if you have a specific manufacturer that you use all the time, then type it in here so that the person can just hit enter and they don't have to physically type it in. So let's see, a toilet, Elger, okay. So we'll put in Elger, okay, and the rest of this is basically where we're going to put our text in here. I don't know, it doesn't have to be annotative because you're not going to see them anyway. So under text height, I'm going to use this button right here to physically specify on my screen how high I want these letters to be. I want them to be about that high. And the rest of it's okay. So I'll just hit OK on here. In comes my tag. So this is my tag, and we won't see this once it comes in. Okay. So you can put in as many attributes as you want here. So let's put in a couple more. And again, ATT DEF, attribute define. This time I want my tag to be, and don't worry about all these things over here right now. Basically, the only one we really care about is invisible and lock position. Those should be on. The other ones don't matter really so much. Anyway, under tag, we're going to put in room. And you can't have spaces in here, so if you want a space, just put in an underscore or a hyphen or something like that. Room name, and then the prompt, enter the room. Actually, it should be number, not name. And the default, we're going to leave blank in this case here. Now, as far as the text is concerned, text height and all this, right here, this button will say align below previous attribute definition. So we'll just check that off and hit OK, and it'll just put room number in there. So we got manufacturer, room number, and let's see, manufacturer, room number. What else could we put in here about the toilet? Type, I guess. Whether it's a floor mount, wall mount. So we'll just say type, enter type of toilet, and we can just say floor. All right, align below previous attribute. Okay, so that's good enough. We have 3 of them in here, so let's use these. All right, so now we're going to make our block. And our block is going to be toilet. Our base point is going to be back here. We're going to select all of this stuff all together. And we're going to hit OK. And we want to redefine it, yes. All right. So now, when I go to insert my first toilet, and we bring down toilet here, and it comes, so we'll put one in right here. I'll put it in here, I guess. So as soon as I enter in the insertion point and accept it, up pops this dialog box for me to put in the information for that particular block. So enter the type of toilet is a floor type, enter the room number 101, enter the manufacturer Alger, and hit OK. And as you can see, it comes in and there's no text next to it or anything. So how do you know that it has attributes next to it? Well, if you double click on it, it will pop up the attribute editor. Okay, so in here you can see some stuff about the attribute. It shows me what the tags are and what the prompts are and what the value are. If I do ATT edit, so for attribute edit, and I can pick this, and up pops that same dialog box again. So that's how I can go ahead and put those in. So if I insert a second one, toilet, okay, this one here will pop that one in. This one's going to be a wall mount. This one's going to be 101 again. And I'll just put in junk. Okay. And you hit OK. All right. So now I have a couple toilets in there with attributes. Okay. Let's look at some other uses for attributes that are interesting. one would be the room number itself. So imagine putting in room numbers on, say, this hospital, right? And you'd have to go through and pop them all in and put in all the text, and it's very time consuming. Okay. So on here, what I want to do is I'm going to make a block right on my screen. I'm going to just start off with a rectangle like this. Okay. And then I'm going to decide what kind of text I'm going to put in here. So my attribute is going to be what's going to go inside this. All right, so this is going to be my box, and that'll be my block. The attribute will be the room number that will go inside here. So ATTDEF for attribute define. This time we don't want it to be invisible, and this time I'll say verify, okay, and we'll say room underscore number, and the prompt is going to be enter the room number. In the default, I'm not going to put anything in there. This time I want it to be middle center, and that means I want to put it dead center in the middle of that thing. So the text style is going to be standard on that. The text height, I want it to be about yay high. Okay, 6 7/8 of an inch roughly. And that's about good, I guess. So I'll hit OK on that. And I want it middle justified, so I want that one there and that one there. And that's where it's going to go, right there, dead center in the middle, like that. So as you can see, the tag is bigger than what we want. We're typically only going to have, 3 numbers there, because when you number rooms, they're typically in the hundreds. Okay, so we'll go ahead and make this a block. Block make, and we're going to go ahead and call this room number. Our base point's going to be, again, the midpoint of this thing, right dead center there. Select both objects like that, and I'm going to delete them and hit OK. So then we'll go ahead and hit insert, and this time we want room number. So in comes my box, and let's put them on a new layer first before I get going too far. And we'll just say room numbers. Give them a color of magenta. That's cool. We'll insert this again, room number, hit OK, and it comes. We'll pop it in there like that. And the rotation is 0. Enter the room number, room 100. Okay, so there's room 100. All right, on the wrong layer. I didn't set the layer correctly, so there's room numbers. Let's pop that on the right layer here. So now I can go ahead and I can either copy this or insert more. And I prefer to typically copy these because the insertion process is a little bit, time consuming. You got to come in here, put in the room number, you got to hit OK, you got to pick where you're going to put it, rotation angle, and then you got to put in, the next room number and so on and so forth. So it might be easier to just use copy and copy this to where you want it, where you want them all to go, and then use the attribute edit command to, fix them. So we'll just go ahead and put those in like that, and att edit. So pick this one, 102. Pick that one, 103. Oops. 104. And lastly, 105. Okay, so we got our room numbers in there. So you can do this with just about anything, and as you can see, this would be a good point for me to kind of go into talking about how to do this with your title blocks, so that way you can always have title block information when you insert your title block. So let's look at that next. Okay, so we're going to look at your title block next. So I'm going to go into our layout tab down here and right click and set this up with Page Setup Manager. Go into Modify, select my device. I'm at home right now, so I don't have the school printer listed on here. So I'm going to do drawing to PDF, and I'm going to do 11 by 17 inches and hit OK on that and close that out. I'll get rid of this, and I'm going to insert my title block that I've made. It's not in this session right now, so that's what this browse button's for. So one thing to know about blocks is that any drawing can be a block. So I've made a title block over here. Let me cancel that for a second. This is another drawing altogether. All right, so here's my title block here. The only thing wrong with it right now is it can't find the EMCC logo there, and I'll fix that here in a second. But basically all I've done on here is I've created these titles with just regular text, okay, and I've created the drawings, obviously. These items right here are my attributes. So if I do a list on these, we can see that that's an attribute definition. All right, and if I list this one out, that's an attribute definition. Okay, so on and so forth. So all of those other things on here are attributes. So when I insert this in, it will prompt me for all that information. So I'll close this out so you can see this process work. And we'll go back in here and I'll say insert. And I'll click on my browse button and I'll go out to my computer. And on Dropbox, I have my title block that I made for this class. So it is my B-size title. So I'll say open and hit OK. In it comes. I'm on the wrong layer, but that's okay. So in it comes. Now the size that I made it is going to be outside the hard clip limits because I made this for my sheet for the school. For the printer at school, not my printer here at my office. So I'll just insert it anyway so you can see how it works. And the rotation angle is 0. So enter the project name. So the project name is going to be all caps here. Assignment number 3. Enter the drawing name. We'll call it blocks and attributes. Okay, drawn by me. Enter the scale. I'd say as shown, because I don't know what scale I'm using. Enter the date submitted. I'm not sure what the date is today. What is today? The 9th. 2/9 and 15. And the page number is going to be 1 of 1. So I'll hit OK. And in comes my title block, and I don't ever have to do that again. All right, so that's nice. Once you have that set up, it's all done. The only thing, like I said, is I have a picture in here of the EMCC logo, and it's looking for the picture on my hard drive on my other computer. So if this happens to you, there's a couple different ways that we can fix that, but that's kind of beyond the scope of this right now. So we'll just leave the logo off for right now until we get into working with images. So we won't worry about that. But If I wanted to edit this or fix this, I would have to explode it. And once you explode this, all of your information for your attributes will go back to just their original tags. So that's another good thing to know. So if you explode a block, you're going to lose all of your data associated with your attributes. So in this case here, I could go in and fix this, but I'm going to lose that information. So what I would need to do is actually open up this original file again and fix it. So why don't I do that right now, just so that you guys can see the process. So I'll open up my B-size title block, and the easiest thing here is to just erase that completely and just reinsert an image. So I'm going to come up to image, okay, and I'm going to say attach, and I'm going to go out and see if I can't find the EMCC logo on my hard drive. Let's see. It would probably be under here, under pictures, if I had it at all on. Yeah, I don't think I have it here on my computer. So let me just grab it off the internet so that we can kind of see how that whole process works. So I'll pull up the internet here, and I'm going to put in EMCC logo. And it'll come up to this, and we'll say images for EMCC. There's lots of EMCCs, not just our college. There's lots of people that use it. So here's our real logo right here. So I'll pull this up, and when you click on this, you get the preview. Go to view image right here so that you pull up the actual image. So I'll say view image. Some people may want to use this logo instead, but this is the actual school logo, but you could use this one. If I hit view image like that, this will come up, and I can right click on that and say save image as, and put it out to my desktop and hit save. And I'll save both of them. I'll go back to this one as well and hit view image. So that'll come up, and I'll right click on that and say save image as, and I'll save that one too. Okay. So now those are saved onto my hard drive. Now I can go ahead and attach them. Up here under insert, I can say attach, and I'm going to just go to my desktop, and here's my EMCC logos. So I'll bring in this first one with the eagle, and we'll hit OK on that. So an image can come into AutoCAD very simply just by doing this attach, and I'll hit OK, and it comes. I'll drop it in right here and scale it. Okay, so that's the logo for this. This is not the one that is meant to go in here, but you know, that could be in here as part of that. So, but let's just erase that. I'm going to bring in the other one. So we'll go up back up to insert, attach, and I'll pick this one. Hit open. Okay, and this comes in. It's pretty large. I can scale it down about that far, and there we go. So now that that's all set, I should be able to just save this drawing and close it out. So if I go up here and close it, do I want to save changes? I'll say yes. Okay. Then I'll come back to this one, and we're going to reinsert this title block, B-size, and it comes in okay, and it still didn't come in okay. Now the reason for this is because we've already inserted this. So when I hit browse, it actually said, oh, you already have that out there. So we'd actually have to reinsert this all over again, which would be kind of a pain, but we'd have to actually bring it in. So this brings up a good point. So if we go back to insert now, and I say B-size title, and I hit browse, I can go out and find it, hit open, and okay, here we go. Actually, I messed that up, didn't I? Alright, let's undo that back again. I was going to say, it should have updated that, so let's try that one more time. Instead of picking this B-size, we hit browse, resize title block, redefine the block. There we go. So now it came in with that correct one. That's the way it's supposed to work. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to confuse you guys. So anyway, so that's all set. The only thing is that images come in with an image frame around them. You can see this frame that's around here. That's an actual image frame. You can see it right here. If you click on image frame and put in a 0, it will turn that image frame off so that you don't have it. So now I have my title block in there. And I should be able to go ahead and put in my viewports and should be good to go. Okay, so the last step in this whole process is to extract data out. So I've gone ahead and inserted some existing blocks that I had with attributes of some computers, some phones, desks, chairs, and so on and so forth. So now that this is all populated and each one of these has attribute data, and we can just double check it by clicking on them, and we can see that in here, the computer has room number, what speed the computer is, what the serial number is, what the monitor size is, what the manufacturer name is, and so on and so forth. So it'd be nice to be able to extract that information out into a table so that we could insert it into layout space. So in order to do that, basically you can click on this table button right here, and up comes the table, insert table. So what I want to do is create a table from object data in the drawing. It's data extraction. So we're going to click on that. Everything else grays out because you have to follow through this process. So this is step 1. We just basically select that, hit OK. Now it's going to ask us, there's 8 steps to this, so we're going to create a new data extraction. So I'll hit next. We're going to give it a name. I'm going to just call it comp for computers, because I want to just extract the computer data, nothing else. So right now it's going to ask me what my data source is. The drawing that we currently have, include the current drawing, or select all the objects in the current drawing. So we'll pick on that right there. So I'll click that, and then we'll just window everything like that. It doesn't really matter. We can select everything because then we can decide what we want to extract or not. So I can click on next, and then in here, this is the key right here. Select the objects to extract data from. So I'm going to uncheck display all object types, and I'm going to basically check off, make sure that display blocks only, and display blocks only with attribute data. So we want to do that. So the only blocks with attribute data in this drawing are the computer, the desk, the phone, the room number, and the toilet. All right, so I'll hit next again. And then on this, it's basically the properties for all of that stuff could be included. So, there's a lot of data that can be extracted out. Even we're talking about X and Y position for geometry and so on and so forth. But we can drill this down a little bit further by unchecking everything but attribute data, because we just want to see attribute data. We don't want miscellaneous or geometry in general, or drawing or 3D visualization. So we just want attribute data. Okay, and then we'll say next. And we'll hit OK on that. And so then in here, we can see, I messed up there. We want to hit back again. All right. On this screen here, on this screen here, we want to just look at the computer data. So I'm going to uncheck the rest of these. So we don't want to see the desk data, phone data, room. We want those in a different table probably. So we just want the computer data. And we'll say next on that. And here are just the attributes for the computer data. We have manufacturer, megahertz, monitor size, room number, and serial number. We'll hit next again. Get the little warning telling us that uniformly scaled objects were found. Objects in those blocks were not extracted. That's not a big deal. So we'll hit OK on that. So this is basically what our table is going to look like. And then I can hit next on here, and I'm going to say insert data extraction table into drawing, or I could output this data to a spreadsheet, like an Excel spreadsheet. So I could do that as well. I can do both of these things. So we can look at it both differently. So I'll hit next. And then here, basically if I had a table set up, I could go in here and pick a different type of table. I can click this and go into the table itself and make sure that under modify here, I'm setting my text to annotative text because I want this to go into layout space ultimately. So I'll hit OK on that, and I'll close this out, and then next on here I'll hit finish, and my table will come in over here, and it's teeny tiny. And the reason it's teeny tiny is because this is really meant to be in layout space, but we can bring it in model space just temporarily to kind of look at it. So we can see here we have how many computers of that specific type. So we have one set that there's 2 computers that are identical, i7s, 20-inch monitors, and so on. I spelled that wrong, dual. Anyway, so we'll zoom out of this and I'll edit this here and I'll erase that table, and we'll bring it into layout space next. So I'm going to just pause. Okay, so I'm going to go over to my layout tab for a second. We'll bring in our table into here instead. So we'll come back up to table, this time from drawing data again. This time we've already extracted this out, so I can just basically check on this and pick this little button here and come down and pick comp and hit open, hit next. It asks me for a file name again. It's comp again, so we'll just hit save on that. Yes. We'll hit next again, and this time you can see it's a little easier. We only have computers already selected. Everything's done for us because it's already gone through this steps for us already. So all I have to do is just kind of follow through all this stuff and keep hitting next and finish, and in comes my table. You can bring it in, and there we go. There's our table. So as you can see, our table's in there. If we want to look at it in Excel, let's pull up Excel for a second, and I'll close this out. I'll come up to File, Open in Excel, and I'll go into my documents here. There's the file that we extracted. It's the name of the drawing with an XLS extension on it. So I'll hit open on that, and in Excel now we have all of our computer data in here, which now could be done anything with Excel, or we could bring it into Access or something else like a database. So there you have it, creating blocks, attributes, and data and data extraction.